Hola amigos, yo soy Blaircore. So sorry there's a little bit of a delay in making this video. I was currently going through a lot of stuff this past couple of weeks, so I had to delay the video by a day. So sorry any of you guys, sorry my 40 subscribers, if I'm late by a day on a video. I was just, dealing with stuff in quarantine, that's all I'll say. So fursuiting is a unique and diverse world that the furry fandom has built over years of constant innovation and strives to make these beautifully well-crafted works of art that we wear. As the years go by and as the popularity of the fandom increases, we're currently actually going through a shortage of fursuit makers. So of course when there's a shortage of makers, more mainstream or popular makers like Don't Hug Cacti or Made For You charge a premium for their suit, which is definitely justified. But this encourages many people to go with smaller makers. Commissioning a smaller maker is definitely an excellent idea. When you wear a fursuit like this by a smaller maker, well, my fursuit isn't necessarily by a smaller maker, but let's just say, for example, my suit was from a smaller maker. It's basically giving them some great advertising for the quality of their suits and influences more people and allows them to grow. But of course, commissioning a smaller maker, that leaves you more susceptible to scammers, unfortunately. But yeah, with such a high niche demand comes an influx of extremely shady people. And today I'd like to have this video topic addressed to informing people about different types of scams pertaining to fursuits that take place in and outside of the furry fandom. Now, of course, as a disclaimer, this advice isn't 100% bulletproof, and I'm not advertising as 100% bulletproof. Scammers are definitely scheming and very creative with their different types of scams. So if you're in the market for commissioning a suit or just even like browsing through makers, I definitely keep my ear to the ground of different types of scams that are emerging and taking place within the fandom. So let's begin. So I'd first like to start off with a scam that not many people in the fandom actually really fall for, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Knockoff Chinese mascot sites. If you type in fursuit to, let's just say, Google or any other type of search engine, these results will definitely pop up of these Chinese knockoff mascot sites advertising that they can sell full suits between $400 and $500. Now, of course, if you look at these images on the site, you'll notice that they're actually ripped from Google Images or Twitter of people's own personal handcrafted suits made for them, and they'll either crop out the credit to suitor or the suit maker, or add a crappy transparent watermark, or even both. Now, of course, part of this is also knowing your price of fursuits. Fursuit heads can range anywhere between, let's see here, $400 to $1,700, though I've seen personally protogen heads and hyper-realistic heads go for a little bit more than $2,000, so of course I'd look out for that. Mini partials between $600 and $2,000. Partials $700, between $700 and $2,500. Plantigrade fursuits $1,200 to $3,000, and Digigrade fursuits can be anywhere between, Digigrade fursuits can be anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 plus. So if one of these shady websites or even a fursuit maker offers you a suit for, let's say, $500, I definitely wouldn't trust it and take my money elsewhere, because they're either out to take your credit card information or offer you a raggedy, tattered up mess. So let's just say you've been dabbling through Twitter.com or Furfinity, then you chose one or a couple of makers to make your suit, and they hypothetically happen to be open for commissions. So you place yourself in their queue by either submitting a Google form or any other platform. You think you're out of the clear, right? Unfortunately, fursuit scams by individuals within the fandom are just as, if not more, prevalent than those Chinese knockoff scam websites that I mentioned before. Now, the first step to finding out if a maker is reputable is just plopping their name into Google. If multiple lengthy written artist bewares or negative reviews pop up of this maker, I definitely take that as a big seething red flag to stay away from this maker, especially if the artist beware pages go in depth with screenshots and have a lot of evidence against commissioning them. Another platform I definitely consider is this site called Fursuit Review. Fursuit Review is a site that recently popped up and I noticed, and they position themselves as a platform of complete transparency and offers critique of fursuit makers' professionalism, how quality their suits are, if seams breaking, or how comfortable the suit is. And there's different filters that you can also use on the site. So even if you're at that beginning stage of looking for a maker, I definitely recommend looking through Fursuit Review and, just seeing different types of makers that fit within your price range. Fursuit Review and also word of mouth is why I ultimately went with Jessie Frost, and I definitely do not regret going through that research stage before going out and purchasing a fursuit, because this thing is gorgeous. How often a fursuit maker posts on their social media with relevant information pertaining to their business is also a sign. I'm not asking or saying that fursuit makers should be posting on social media on like a daily basis, or just be on there every waking hour, because of course fursuit makers are busy hustling, they're very much hard workers. But if you don't see a post pertaining to their craft in like 4+ months, 4, 5, or even 6 months, I take that as a red flag and a sign. And also, if they have a long Trello queue that hasn't been updated in months without reason. Now, I'd understand if they left a reason, like, oh yeah, maybe they're going on hiatus. But if it's just not been updated with zero reason, and they're neglecting their customers, or they're neglecting their commissioners, I would definitely take that into consideration before commissioning that maker. One final, very important thing that I'd like to touch on is turnaround time. So, let's just say you've gone through my previous steps and you're officially slotted in to commission a fursuit maker. One thing that I'd always have handy and definitely recommend is to have a deadline. I've seen horror stories of makers, if you approach them without a deadline, they'll just push you off until the last minute until you start complaining. Now, of course, this isn't 100% a good business practice, but come with a convention deadline between 6 months. I'd come with a commission deadline between, let's just say, 6 months to a year out to a convention. Now, of course, if you approach a fursuit maker and expect them to have your suit done 3 months out, it's kind of rude, because making a fursuit is a very long process. And some, especially larger, well-off makers have very, very long queues. So I definitely take that into account. One other thing that I'd also consider is clientele. Especially with smaller makers, I would definitely recommend approaching other people who have commissioned them and asking their opinions on the quality of their suit, and a one-to-one friendly conversation about how their suit came out, and anything they found unsatisfactory about it. A lot of furs are actually pretty transparent about their experience, and if they have a glowing experience, or if the fursuit maker has a massive clientele, I definitely take that as a good sign of a good maker. Unfortunately, if you've been scammed by a fursuit maker, PayPal refund policy or the PayPal return policy, the max you can do is 180 days or 6 months out. And of course, as I stated before, making a fursuit is a long process. So most of the times the scammer makes sure it's outside that 6-month range before they take your money and scram. If your fursuit costs more than $5,000, there's of course a possibility that you can take the maker to small claims court, but sometimes they live outside your country, or a lot of the times they change up their names often, so it's very hard to pinpoint. At that stage, if you unfortunately can't get your money back, I would have screenshots and chat logs saved and timestamps of when each conversation happened, and write a lengthy artist beware to keep people informed about their crappy business practices. Now, I'm not saying that all fursuit makers are out to finesse people's wallets. I'm completely not saying that, and I'd say 80 to 90% of makers within the furry fandom have good intentions. They're doing honest business with other people, and being scammed is completely not your fault. But sometimes you kind of have to understand that when you're commissioning an independent artist, it's sometimes just a risk that you have to take when doing business one-to-one with another individual. I've known plenty of people who've had, mixed experiences or have been scammed a couple times by fursuit makers. And I'd say nowadays, now that the fandom is more vigilant of these terrible business practices and, how you treat your customer, I'd say it's far less likely now, but it's still definitely a possibility, and I would just be vigilant about who you're doing your business with and who you're taking your money to. Of course, if you learned anything throughout this video, feel free to comment it down below, or if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to also leave that in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching through this entire video. I hope you enjoyed it, and also have a wonderful day and stay safe. Have a good one.